time for a mailbag edition of Dolphins Today. We promised a Instagram-led mailbag after getting 3,000 followers. Well, we got there last week, and it's time to pay it off, which is why you also have to go follow us over on Instagram, because we post content on the daily over there, short-form content posts. We're growing. We did cross 3,000 followers, so give us a follow on Instagram at Dolphins Today IG. And before we answer the first question of today's show, did want to also make note it is presented by Prize Picks. But the first question coming in from Bean and Chez. Who do you think is the next Dolphins cut candidate? Now, I will say, when answering this, it's kind of hard to project that because I have no clue what miniature roster move Miami's probably going to make. Because if I was actually trying to be accurate in terms of the next player to get released, it's 99% going to be some random-ass roster move where the Miami Dolphins sign someone we've never heard of. So, in the game of trying to predict who the next cut candidate is, I'm going with Keith Cooper Jr., the defensive lineman. Sorry, Keith. If Miami adds someone, I think you're the one to go. But in all seriousness, there's going to be more cut candidates that we'll talk about in August when we get to the preseason. Mike, 24C, if Malik Willis plays good and the Dolphins have a top 5 pick, what players are you targeting in the draft? Well, this is the dream, right? Like, if I could sign a piece of paper right now that would tell you, hey, Malik Willis looks like a franchise quarterback, but Miami finishes 4-13, I would take that. I really would. And because of where Miami's roster is at, we have so many needs at edge, at DB, at wide receiver. So I would be looking in that direction. You have 2 wide receivers that I'm really high on, Jeremiah Smith and Cam Coleman. I know Jeremiah Smith will get the headlines. I'm telling you, though, do not sleep on Cam Coleman. Dylan Stewart and Colin Simmons are the 2 edge rushers in this draft that are freaky. Stewart's athleticism is, unbelievable, dude. You think Chop Robinson's an athletic edge? Stewart's that times 2. And if you want to add to the secondary, Leonard Moore is the projected CB1. He's had a couple really good seasons at Notre Dame. Now, you do got to let the year play out, though, right? Because we can talk about these 5 guys being really good options for Miami, but what does the season look like? Do one of those 5 guys fall out of the top of the draft? Does Miami actually have a better secondary than we originally thought? So the way Miami looks this year will point yourself in a direction. I will assume no matter what, a wide receiver or edge is going to be a pretty big need next year. So I would be willing to bet on targeting Stewart, Simmons, Coleman, or Jeremiah Smith next year in the top 5 if we don't need to draft a quarterback. Who is your favorite 2027 NFL draft prospect? I know it's crazy to ask this early, but I know a lot of people are fans of Arch Manning. I know a lot of people are fans of Jeremiah Smith. Let me know which one, if it's one of those 2 or someone else that y'all love. DJ Lele, what's the one move the Dolphins could make this season, before the season starts, that would have the biggest impact on winning a playoff game? Now, DJ, I don't think Miami's going to be in the playoffs no matter who they add in free agency before the draft or before the season. But if there were one free agent you'd add that would have an immediate big impact, to me, it's without a question signing the wide receiver, Stefon Diggs. Miami's wide receiver room is the worst in football. It's one of my biggest concerns about the roster. Are they going to be able to evaluate Malik Willis properly with this level of wide receivers? Diggs, yes, he's a headache in the locker room and off the field at times, but did just come off a ridiculously good season in New England where he had over 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns, and was the number 1 target for Drake May. I still probably wouldn't sign Stefon Diggs because I would be more focused on building up some of these younger guys with you not competing this year and also trying to establish a baseline and a culture, which maybe Stefon Diggs could further, but it's more likely than not he doesn't. So he would be the biggest impact signing Miami could make in free agency right now, but I still do not believe it is in the Dolphins' best interest to actually do that. More questions to be answered here in a second, but we are brought to you by Prize Picks on today's show. Sign up today, use code HMA, and get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5, whether you're someone who likes basketball, whether it's someone who likes football, baseball, hockey, golf, motorsports, it doesn't matter. You can play Prize Picks, and every in any single way. One example, you could make lineups for the World Cup. They also have flash discounts all World Cup long, knockout stage beginning this upcoming week. And we're going to need a big knockout stage from our guy Bruno Fernandes in order to hit this World Cup 3-player entry. Messi and Mbappe, they did their job. Fernandes, though, he's going to need to pick his game up for Portugal to advance, one, and make me and producer Coop some money. Join me over on PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Appreciate PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. Michael, I don't think that's you in your profile picture. That looks like it's Travis Scott. If we were to trade Jordyn Brooks, although unlikely, what would be the ideal compensation for him? If we don't trade him, what would be the ideal contract extension as of right now for Brooks? Well, great question. We actually talked a lot about this yesterday on the show, so maybe your answer or question got answered there, but we'll answer it anyway here. I think the draft comp, if I had to trade Jordyn Brooks, that I would be okay with, is a second-round pick this year and a fifth-round pick in 2028. And I know some people might think that's a steep asking price for someone who is going to be a free agent a year from now, but I'm sorry. If you are a first or second team All-Pro, no matter what the position is, I am going to ask a lot out of that trade. And that's the only way I would consider trading Brooks, is if you can get a valuable premium draft asset in return. Now, if you keep Jordyn Brooks, which is the most likely outcome here, I have longly said it's going to be a 3-year, $48-ish million contract. Maybe it's 46 or 47. Maybe it's 49 or 50. I think those are some of the probably most likely outcomes here. This contract would make Brooks the fourth highest paid linebacker per season in the NFL, only trailing Zach Baum, Fred Warner, and Roquan Smith. That is the right company that Brooks is in. I expect an extension to get done, and this is kind of the rough estimate of what it could look like. BNJ, how do you feel about our wide receiver core right now? Who do you think our top 3 guys are? Well, I don't mean to be pessimistic here, but I've been pretty open about this. I think we have the worst wide receiver room in the entire NFL. It's either us or Las Vegas, but I would probably say it's ours. And to answer the second part of your question, the top 3 wide receivers on the team right now, in my opinion, are the 3 guys pictured. Jalen Tolbert was the number 1 wide receiver in terms of Malik Willis targets and ultimate production in OTAs and minicamp. Malik Washington a close number 2. But we also heard about a lot of positive things coming for rookie wide receiver Kevin Coleman Jr. I don't feel good about Tutu Atwell. Caleb Douglas has been banged up in the spring and has done nothing. And Chris Bell is likely starting on the PUP list and won't be on the football field in a Dolphins uniform until at earliest October. So I don't feel good about this room whatsoever. It's not an NFL caliber room. But the 3 top wide receivers, I think right now, Tolbert would probably be your X. I think Malik Washington maybe would be your Z. And then Kevin Coleman Jr. would be your slot. But I also could see Tutu Atwell rotating in with Malik Washington as that Z, someone who could work inside and outside, play any type of role. Want to be featured on our next mailbag? Hit that sub button. We only do an Instagram mailbag every 1,000 followers. So if you want to be on one that we do on YouTube, got to be subscribed and join us for our live shows. Hopefully resuming in the next couple weeks. Busy time here with the NBA. Drew Fishing. If Malik Willis doesn't pan out and the Dolphins were expected to draft a quarterback in the first round, is there a QB you like at the moment? So Drew is actually asking the complete opposite of the question earlier about, hey, what if Miami needs to take a quarterback in the top 5 because Malik Willis stinks? Well, here are the top 10 projected quarterbacks in the 2027 draft. Sorsby, who knows what happens with him, but you got Darian Mensah in Miami now, Dante Moore with Oregon, Arch Manning in Texas, Norris Sellers, South Carolina, CJ Carr's joining some buzz, Jane Mayava, Julian Sayin, Mestamaker, Chambliss. Like, those are probably going to be the top 10 guys next year. A couple of these guys could return back to school. Sayin, Carr, Manning all have another year of eligibility. Moore, he doesn't. But the one that intrigues me the most is actually Darian Mensah. And that's not Miami Hurricane bias, as he is now the Carson Beck replacement. I was a big fan of Darian Mensah at Duke. I'm not even a Hurricane fan, so there's really no bias here for me when it comes to the University of Miami and the Dolphins. But Mensah, 6'4", 6'5", mobile, strong arm, had a big year last season for the Duke Blue Devils. And as he transfers up, he's playing in a better team. He's got a better kind of situation around him. I think Mensah is going to have a big year. I think he would have been a fringe first-round pick this past draft. I would have had him as my personal QB2. Now, obviously, Ty Simpson went in the top 15, so maybe Mensah would have went in that same range. I do think he would have been a first-round pick, though. That's how good I feel about Darian Mensah. And he went back to school, and I think it was the right decision, though, because he gets another year of development. He's still relatively young, began his year in career at Tulane. Now he could work his way himself into the top 5 number 1 pick. My hot take is that he is the number 1 pick next year. Is it a hot take? Maybe. But I'm a big Darian Mensah guy, and I think the world is about to see why I think that. Our Mills, will Patrick Paul ever be a top 5 left tackle? I think it's certainly in the realm of outcomes. Like, I'm not going to predict that he will, but could he? Yeah. I mean, he had a really good second season. Yeah, was there a lot that needs to be improved on still? Absolutely. He's still young. He was drafted as a raw talent, and we're developing him. But the leap we saw from his 5 games he played as a rookie to his entire sophomore season where he was the starting left tackle, I think showcased a lot of promise. One of the better pass-blocking left tackles as well for his age. I think with more development, more confidence, more consistency, he is going to continue to develop. Right now, I think he's like a top 15, top 20, kind of in that range. Offensive lineman, left tackle in the league. In 2-3 years, could he be a top 10? Yeah. Could he be top 5 ever? Hopefully. That's certainly in the range of outcomes. But it's going to take probably another year, 2-3 years, maybe. Carson Monoxide. That's a clever name, Carson. I think you're going to end our show today. You are. Do you believe there is a chance right now with the roster that we can surprise people, break out, and make the wild card? Carson, I hate to be the pessimist here, but no. And there would be nothing that would make me happier than a surprise year that shows us we have the right quarterback, the right GM, and the right head coach for the foreseeable future. I just don't think that this defense is good enough. First of all, the secondary is a question mark. Who's going to rush the passer? Your edge rushers aren't anything special. The wide receiver room isn't any good. I know there's optimism with the interior defensive line, the offensive line, the quarterback, the running game. I get that. Miami's going to be, I think, a solid offensive team. Good, not great. Maybe average. I think they might be 17th, 18th in the NFL. But I think the defense is going to be absolutely brutal this year because they don't have a proven secondary. They don't have a proven pass rush. And you need one of the two to make up for the other. But when both are bad, it could just be really ugly this year for Miami. I think it's incredibly more likely the Dolphins have the number 1 pick than they even sniff a winning record. All right, that'll do it for today's show. Make sure you follow us over on Instagram for more short-form Dolphins content and subscribe to see daily Miami Dolphins YouTube videos.